Catherine, the one time a TikTok conspiracy proves correct, we are here for it. I really want to do an Alex Jones voice now, but I'll spare our listeners that. But apparently, drinking alcohol can prevent food poisoning.
Oh, I love this. According to the totally unqualified medical experts of TikTok, if you are worried about that funky tasting oyster you just ate, just knock back a shot of vodka or else a big old glass of wine because, hey, it's sterile and supposedly alcohol protects against foodborne illness.
I was just so happy to see the New York Times coverage of this because the Times has been on an kind of anti-alcohol tear lately,
Hmm.
and yet I shall quote the Gray Lady herself here. Several small studies on foodborne illness outbreaks have indeed found that consuming alcohol was associated with protection from food poisoning.
Yes. Now, of course, the
Yes.
article does go on to say that evidence is not entirely conclusive, but whatever. Bring on the studies. For example, one paper described a salmonella outbreak that began at a 120 person banquet in Spain, where, of course, the most insidious foods ever for banquets and salmonella outbreaks was served. This was tuna sandwiches and potato salad.
Wait, they eat tuna sandwiches and potato salad in Spain? Or- I'm guessing they have cooler Spanish names for that. Maybe they throw in lots of paprika, but anyway.
Maybe they're tiny, like little tapas sized, you know?
Yeah, I studied abroad in Spain, and I didn't see any tuna sandwiches or potato salad, but regardless, apparently 47 people at this banquet became deathly ill with all the stomach things, your vomiting, your diarrhea, your stomach cramps, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, all the things. But you know what? The attendees who knocked back 3 or more drinks were 46% less likely to become sick. And those who had a little less, up to 3 drinks, were 27% less likely to develop symptoms. And those are serious symptoms.
So the heavier drinkers had the better health outcomes. Did I just say that? Yes, I
Yeah.
did. Whoop, whoop. The Times article also cites a hepatitis A breakout caused by raw oysters in Florida, where the folks who drank wine, whiskey, or cocktails along with their oysters were 90% less likely to get sick than those who did not drink.
I love that. But Nick, bad news in here. I'm sorry to add that the beer drinkers did get sick. And maybe that's because beer is lower in alcohol by volume.
Yeah, I'm guessing the zebra stripers got sick too.
Oh yeah, zebra stripers. I just came across this term this week, but I think I've been doing this my whole adult life.
Yeah, zebra striping is when you go back and forth between alcohol and water throughout the evening, so you stay hydrated, you don't end up with as much of a hangover.
Right. I always call it double fisting, but I guess you are supposed to have 2 alcoholic beverages when you're double fisting. But yeah, I love doing that. You just sip of water, sip of wine, sip of water, sip of wine.
Yeah, well, unlike the zebra stripers, those double fisters can probably eat as much warm potato salad as they want because guess what, folks? Alcohol is made into hand sanitizers and disinfectants. It kills bacteria, which is why I have a flask of whiskey and a Tupperware full of warm raw oysters right here, and this is going to be my lunch here on campus.
Did you say warm raw oysters? Nick, please do not open either of those things on campus or you will be kicked out of grad school. And thank you, New York Times reporter Alice Callahan. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Deluges along the Danube drench wineries. India may be the savior wine needs. A firefighter fans flames in California, and wineries could find a friend in the USPS if some senators get their way. These are the 4 wine news stories we're following this week on the Foretop, your favorite wine news podcast. I am your host, Catherine Cole, here with producer Nick Toole. Ruby Welkovich is. Where is Ruby Welkovich? Well, guess what? We will be joined by special guest Henna Bakshi, and that is coming right up.
So, Catherine, do you ever see a headline and say to yourself, surely someone can't be that stupid?
Well, I see that all the time because we live in an idiocracy. So, I mean, for example, the number of stupid things people try to bring through airport security these days.
Good point, but I've got an even more stupid story for you. So
Oh, do tell.
let me tell you about Robert Matthew Hernandez, a fire apparatus engineer in Healdsburg, California, who, on his days off, was attempting to start forest fires in Sonoma County.
Oh, this guy. My God, this guy. So between August 15th and September 14th, Hernandez set 5 fires in Sonoma. There's no
Jesus.
clear motive at the moment. Luckily, his coworkers were able to put the blazes out and they burned less than an acre combined.
What an awful thing to do. He was doing this in the midst of fire season, during which nearly 1 million acres have burned and thousands have been displaced. He's putting his fellow firefighters, the public, and of course many vineyards at risk, and I cannot imagine what is going through your head when you do some stupid stuff like this.
I don't know, short-term job security, I guess? Well, anyway, I'm glad they caught this guy. And more seriously, we want to thank all of those who are fighting fires in California and beyond. And also, I wanted to share a useful reference for those wanting to keep an eye on the fire situation. That's the WFCA fire map, and that is on the website of the Western Fire Chiefs Association at WFCA.com.
And now it's time for Phone a Friend.
That's right. This is a new segment in which we call up someone we know and ask them to comment on a story that we are following this week.
Yes, this story first popped up in the Economic Times out of India, and we knew exactly who to call. Friend of the pod, Henna Bakshi. Hi, Henna.
Hi, how are you?
We're
We're
doing
great.
great.
We're so happy you're joining us. And we know that you've written about the economic and cultural shifts in India in recent years that have turned it into a wine consuming powerhouse. So we wanted to ask you about a story we read this week.
Yeah, totally.
So, Pernod Ricard announced this week that India is now the largest market by volume and second largest by value for Pernod Ricard, the French spirits maker.
Yeah, that's big news. I didn't realize India was such a big consumer of alcohol in general, and Pernod Ricard is a pretty upscale spirits maker. So, Henna, have you followed this story, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have, and this is big, and this is something I've written about in relation to wine, but with spirits, it's even bigger.
Mm.
When you see these numbers rise up, it's because there hasn't been a lot of alcohol consumption to begin with, and now that it's rising, and we can dive into a lot of the reasons why that's happening. You're seeing these bigger numbers. You're seeing these larger percentages.
So what are these reasons? So was it culturally less accepted to drink alcohol, or why do you think this is happening right now, Hannah?
Oh my gosh. Movies always tend to be the perfect cultural zeitgeist of what's happening in a place. So when you look at, Bollywood from the 70s, from the 80s, you will always see that actors that play the villains, the goons, the bad guys, are always hanging out at seedy beer bars.
Mm,
They're always messing with the girl, and the hero of the movie is always straight laced and comes in, beats up the guys, and saves the day. Alcohol was just seen as a big taboo, just culturally.
hmm,
And that obviously is changing. And you see that even in the movies now, in Bollywood movies now, you see a dinner table and there's wine at the table. You see musical numbers and there's, cocktails in people's hands. And they're
hmm,
not goons, they're not bad guys. So that switch is honestly happening because there's a rising middle class, which leads to more travel, more education, and when you travel more, if you're going to Europe, which is easily accessible, you're eating and you're drinking. I mean, that's the best way to celebrate any place. And then you're coming back and you want the same thing in your house. You want a glass of wine. Maybe you want a nice scotch on the rocks because you now have the ability to have experienced that travel, that moment. And that can be related to why we're seeing a bit of a spike. And then beyond Bollywood movies, Indian weddings are a great way to have your finger on the pulse of what's going on with food and wine.
Oh, yeah.
mm,
Oh, yeah. When you go to an Indian wedding, and if you haven't had the chance to do so, that is a lifetime bucket list goal. Go to
mm.
an Indian wedding. They're known for food and fun. But now you see cocktails being handed out. You see mojitos. You see,
Mhm.
bourbons and scotches and whiskeys being handed out at an open bar, which used to not be the case, especially for women. Women are proudly drinking these cocktails. It used to be more of a men's thing. And you see that depicted in movies, you see that depicted in music, and you see it depicted at weddings, all three of which I think are a great representation of what's happening in Indian culture right now.
Oh,
It's interesting you mentioned that gendered part of it too, because as I was reading up on this, I was reading how, there's a pervasive idea that wine is a drink for women, which is slowly changing. But there was mention of how the movies are showing men drinking wine. So
Mhm.
not only is it helping to elevate wine, but it's also helping to get rid of the idea that wine's only for women in those Bollywood movies, which I thought was interesting.
Totally, absolutely. I mean, it definitely was seen as more of a feminine drink, which I think can be seen around the world. But yeah, that absolutely is a shift that's happening. And to add to that, sometimes Indians, especially, I can say this because I am one. We're bougie. I mean, we love a good brand. It's like we love labels, and it's not really to flaunt it. It's just luxury. And
Yeah.
that comes with wine. I mean, wine is a super luxurious product. So is whiskey, so is all of the other spirits. I think that comes with also the rise of fashion labels. A lot of major fashion brands are doing their fashion shows in India.
Mhm.
Dior did their huge fall collection in Mumbai, which was gorgeous. So you're seeing a bit of that taste for luxury products rising in India. And that is beautifully equated in wine and spirits.
I'm so excited about what I'm hearing too, because I think that premier and luxury wine brands in the United States are kind of looking where can they expand next? The market's kind of shrinking here domestically. And a lot of producers, at least in Oregon, where I'm based, do have exposure in Asia, but like in Hong Kong and China and in Japan, not so much Southern Asia. And I just think this is a really exciting new potential market. But of course,
Absolutely.
wait, I have to stop and say I've tasted really delicious wines made in India, though. So there's a pretty fantastic wine growing culture there as well.
Yes, yes. I mean, Nashik is the wine capital of India. Lots of wineries have popped up and they're tourism based. I mean, a lot of people are going and visiting these places. Sula Vineyards obviously probably has the most recognizable wine label around the world. We see a lot of it in the US. I just poured Sula's Brut Tropical at a food and wine event that we just did.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of wine now coming out of India. Of course, as a young winemaking region, it's going to go through all of the growing pains that any new wine region goes through. But man, those bubbles are delicious. Some of the Tempranillo and the Spanish varieties that are growing in India are also doing really well. I mean, climatically, we're looking at a lot of similarities.
Wow. So fantastic. This is all such good news. Thank you, Henna. Um, Nick, do you remember back in January when you said you were going to send me a bottle of cider made by your friend if we passed a certain milestone here at the Foretop? Um, and you know what? As I recall, we hit that milestone and you never sent me any cider.
Um, I don't think I remember that.
Well, I am guessing that you have not shipped that bottle because the US Postal Service prohibits people from shipping alcohol. Is that why? Is that why you didn't send it to me?
Yes, exactly. I really want to send you that cider, but my hands are tied.
Well, I do have good news for you then, because Oregon's own Senator Jeff Merkley and New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand introduced a new bill last Wednesday called the USPS Shipping Equity Act. This would allow the US Postal Service to ship alcoholic beverages directly from licensed producers and retailers to consumers. So, you couldn't ship that cider to me directly through the post office, but you could have the cider producer or your local retailer do that, which would be even better because you would not have to stand in line at the post office.
Oh man, a big thank you to Senators Gillibrand and Merkley. Although I read that the legislation, if passed, gives the USPS 2 years to make that change, so I think you'd be waiting a while for that cider.
Well, you could always just use FedEx or UPS. But anyway, Senator Merkley gave two reasons for the proposed changes. First, the USPS ships to more rural customers than FedEx, so it would increase consumer access. Second, he hopes that it will lead to greater competition for shipping rates.
Not to mention that it would generate an estimated $190 million per year for the USPS. That's nothing to sniff at. I mean, these shipping restrictions are holdovers from Prohibition. That was nearly a century ago, and it's time for a change.
Yeah, and now, ironically, we seem to be in the middle of another temperance movement. But anyway, this could be really good for the wine industry. According to the Silicon Valley Bank's 2024 direct to consumer wine survey, DTC transactions now account for 72% of wine sales for the average premium winery. And much of that wine gets shipped to consumers all over the country.
Yeah, you have to imagine that if more addresses could receive shipping and wine shipping rates were to decrease a bit due to competition, this could be really good news for the wine industry.
It could, but you know what, Nick? I want my cider.
Yeah, I mean, give me 2 years.
Stop the news! I want to tell you about the hottest bod in podcasting. And by that I mean BOD, or Business of Drinks, which is one of our favorite wine podcasts, or just podcasts in general.
That's right. My amazing colleague, Erica Ducey, is the brain behind Business of Drinks, a podcast dedicated to helping drinks businesses grow and thrive. This summer, Scott Rosenbaum has joined Erica as co host, and together they take a data driven approach to analyzing the products and categories that get customers and consumers excited.
It doesn't matter whether you're into wine, beer, or spirits, or even non alcoholic drinks. Business of Drinks has you covered. They look at case studies, interview industry experts and visionary newcomers, and focus on identifying new business opportunities as they emerge.
If you want to grow your wine, or beer, or spirits for that matter business, then listen to Business of Drinks on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Cheers.
Cheers. So Europe has been reeling from a big old bully named Boris, and we are not talking about Boris Johnson here. We are talking about a storm called Boris.
Okay, question number one: who names these storms? But anyway, according to the BBC, Boris has wreaked havoc from Poland to Romania to Italy. And most worrying for me, because I was just there in this beautiful wine country, is the Danube River region in Austria and Hungary.
Yes, according to Simon Wolf's blog, The Morning Claret, parts of Austrian wine country saw more than half the average annual rainfall within just 5 days. And by the 15th of September, all of Lower Austria had been declared a disaster zone. Whoa.
Yeah, I reached out to Andreas Wickoff, MW. He's from Weingut Brundelmeier, and he said that some members of his team had to be evacuated from their homes. One of his vineyards close by the Kamp River that was already suffering the effects of a late frost was severely flooded and is probably a total loss for this year. On the bright side, he reported that they had already harvested about 70% of their vineyards when the storm hit, so they were feeling okay.
Yeah, that is a lucky turn of events. He also reported that the Comptal region did have some coping mechanisms in place after the terrible floods of 2002. Authorities emptied the Comp River Reservoir in anticipation of precipitation, which gave some of that excess water somewhere to go. And you also heard from Michael Malat of Weingut Malat in Kremstal, right, Catherine?
I did. And side note, I'm not very good at German pronunciation, but when I was in Austria, I did learn that it's pronounced Weingut, which I just love. I just love how that sounds. Weingut. Anyway, Michael Malat said that his area received nearly half of a typical year's annual precipitation in just 3 days. That is crazy. But he reports that fortunately, not too many of his unharvested berries burst, so he's actually not too worried about rot. And he chalks this up to the fact that he dry farms. So he said his grapes were just a little bit thirsty when all that rain fell.
Well, that's a win for dry farming.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to Austria, Hungary, and Central Europe as the floodwaters recede. Before we get to our question of the week, we need to share some important feedback to our educational posts about Gator wine. If you remember from episode 168, Gator wine is a refreshing blend of chilled red wine and Gatorade. And as summer waned, us, the Four Top team, bravely made this concoction and tasted it, and we posted videos of our personal Gator wine journeys.
That's right. And we would like to thank commenter Vava Wino, who noticed that I foolishly used Silvio Morando Grignolino in my Gator wine video. I mean, what was I thinking? Vava Wino says, I found that something juicier and lower tannins makes it pop even more. Our most successful of two tests was an Ardèche Grenache blend, surprisingly drinkable. So I just want to thank Vava Wino for weighing in. This is the type of feedback we really need on the Four Tops Instagram feed. This is the important stuff.
That is truly important. Well, keep that coming, folks. I wonder what our question of the week should be this week, though. How about something along the lines of, Like, would the ability to ship alcohol via the U.S. Post Office change the game for small wineries and retailers? We'll find a more succinct way to put it, but something along those lines.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear what our listeners think. Henna Bakshi, can you please guide us out of this episode with a dessert course?
Oh my gosh, yes, I'd be happy to. Okay, this is mine, and I swear to God, if anybody steals this as their own, I'm coming after you. This is a pairing that I love, Indian street food chaat, which is very textural. It's sweet and spicy and umami, all at the same time. There's a bit of dairy, there's chutneys, a lot going on with Indian street food, with chaat. There's hot and cold elements. It's just many different kinds. A beautiful wine pairing with chaat is Lambrusco. Man, when you pair, yes, Lambrusco with chaat, Lambrusco will work as the pomegranate or the sweet and sour chutney that chaat was meant to have on top of it. So I always think of my wine as the condiment that perhaps the dish is missing, and Lambrusco always does the trick. It cleanses your palate with the bubbles. It adds beautiful berry notes, which match a lot of the chutneys that go in chaat, and it's just all around a fantastic pairing. I do pop-ups called Chaat and Bubbles, where I pair sparkling wine with Indian street food, and it is so fun, and that's a brilliant pairing.
I am both hungry and thirsty now.
Oh, yeah, I'm very hungry.
Yum!
Yay!
Yum! Thank you so much, Henna Bakshi. We really appreciate you joining us.
You bet.
Thank you.
Well, this has been the Four Top Podcast. I am our executive producer, Catherine Cole.
I'm our producer, Nick Toole, and media and design manager Ruby Wilkovich is in California this week, but thanks to Henna Bakshi for stepping in and joining us.
Yes, and stay tuned next week. We have a special episode coming your way with 2 additional special guests. In the meantime, Keelan King is the composer and performer of our theme music. Please visit our website, thefourtop.org, to learn more about us and listen to back episodes.
And if you have not already subscribed to The Four Top on iTunes or Spotify, please do so, and please leave us a rating. It is very important. Each rating feeds the algorithm and helps new listeners find The Four Top.
Well, from Portland, where it is surprisingly not raining and there's no storm named Boris here, this is Catherine signing out.
From the real Portland, which is getting real fall-y these days, nice and chilly, this is Nick signing out.
Stay safe out there, and thanks for listening.
That's what it was.